Yeah, so it might be like that in about half an hour's time,
Okay.
but you can just forget it. So, cool, you're live?
Am I?
No, as in like it's live. But, do you want me to do the countdown? So I'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I'll like signal, and that's when I press the button and it goes. So obviously, don't forget that's on like a 20-second delay, but when I'll signal, just start telling the camera.
Yeah, that's okay.
Is that okay? And generally, if you stand behind the laptop, you don't block the screen.
Okay, so that's the guide. Yeah, that's okay.
Do you want to jump in early?
Yeah, sure. Let's crack on.
Cool. Okay, so 5, 4, 3.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So good to be back here today. I feel really, really excited today. I don't know. It seems like I've had a pretty good weekend. And then coming into today, yeah, so it's been a really interesting day for me. And I'm excited to be here. And I hope everyone is excited. So good evening from the UK. Good evening. I think it's 1 hour ahead in Nigeria today at the moment. Um, I don't know what time it is in the US, in Australia, in India, in China, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to Roadmap MBA, the platform where we are poised to bring business education to a minimum, I would say, of 5 billion people worldwide. It sounds scary, isn't it? But it's doable, and that's the vision we're sharing on this platform. It was conceived by Steve Pugh, who's a very good friend of mine and a great man, great visionary. Um, who felt that there was a need to create this platform to provide, business education, live engagement, live connections, build a community of value creators, that would change the world literally. And I'm super, super excited to be part of the journey. I'm a guest presenter on the show. My name is Tony. So, again, you're welcome. Um, just to mention, the mission is to help people around the world build a better life for themselves, creating an accessible platform for all communities to thrive and celebrate together. So, what we do here is to reflect on specific topics, and just, kind of learn together from ourselves. We do not claim to be experts, right? But what we do is to instigate the conversations, right? Throw up those um, conversations that ensure that people begin to think in a very appropriate way, in an innovative way, in a way that helps the world. Um, you know, and let me start by saying today, um, this month, in the spirit of mindfulness, right? You can see my puppy, right? We This is the Remembrance Month. We're celebrating. or remembering the fallen heroes, right? And to those areas, war-torn areas at the moment, we can take a minute to really remember the ongoing war in Ukraine, and the people that would have lost their lives, soldiers who are dying, from this mindless war that shouldn't have happened initially. We take a moment, or we using this month to remember them, um, and so that's why I've done this, just so we can, show our support. As a platform, we're also very, 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 very mindful of of the role our armed forces have put for the country, and all the armed forces around the world as well. So we're remembering them with this, and then in the same spirit of mindfulness, right? We're looking at a topic that is really, really interesting. I'm sure if you have anyone who has been following the news, following um, the media, you would know that there is a major event happening at the moment in the world, being hosted in Africa, in Egypt, precisely, which is the COP 27. COP 27. Until I started looking at this reflection today, I really didn't know the meaning of COP. So COP actually means Conference of the Parties, right? Conference of the Parties. So this is the 27th Conference of the Parties. So we felt that in a way to kind of increase or improve the sensitization around the whole climate conversation, it would be interesting to bring up this conversation today and reflect together. Really, like I earlier said, we're not experts in it, right? But we're just trying to stir a conversation here. And then we can begin to see how we can add our own efforts to solving this grand challenge, right? I don't know if this passes for a wicked problem, but it may be. But we all need to put in our own efforts to solving this problem, which is faced by the world. Nowhere is safe. In fact, I was listening to the opening remarks of Alok Sharma, the immediate past president of COP 26, where he was giving his remarks, and then he mentioned, really, which is very disturbing, that a third of Pakistan is submerged under the waters at the moment. Um, Nigeria, where I come from, is experiencing its worst flooding in a decade. So, um, is this topical? Yes, it is. Should we be talking about it? Absolutely. Should we be doing something? Definitely. So, it's just timely that we need to look at what we need to be doing as individuals, not just as businesses, right? Though I've said we're looking at these imperatives for businesses, but you know, we need to also look at what is the need for me as a person. Where do I come in? What do I need to do? Right? Because we need to. If you listen to that speech by Alok in the opening ceremony yesterday, the word that kept on reverberating in his speech was collaborativeness, collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. And in this journey of in this collaboration, we're talking about government, we're talking about businesses, we're talking about individuals, right? So everyone has a role to play. But let's just take the next few minutes to reflect on this very interesting topic, net zero or real zero. And just a quick caveat: this actually was a research I did with a few of my colleagues during the MBA, and then I did some updates on it, but the majority of this were things that we kind of researched together during the MBA program, where we're trying to say, should we be talking about net zero or real zero, which is very interesting. So we'll be reflecting on that, but to do that, we would tend to want to look at where we started from, the whole Paris Agreement, what really is net zero, what are we talking about when we say net zero, and stuff like that. We'll just, kind of go through a little bit of reflection and see if we can pick out some imperatives for businesses. So if you're a business person watching, you may want to stay tuned because we'll be reflecting about how what's the role of businesses in this. How can we add, our own quota to this problem? How can we join to solve the problems, right? And then if you're an individual, or you're a researcher, right? You're a student, you want to listen in to say, how can I use my research to help this cause, right? And then if you're just an individual, how can I improve my lifestyle or my day-to-day living to add something to this cause, right? So let's look at what we have in the next few minutes. So a quick puzzle, if you're there, just a quick puzzle, which I said, what's your estimate for the carbon footprint of the electric car compared to the gasoline-powered car? This is, I'm sure someone would immediately jump at smaller, because we've come to really understand over the time that the alternative, or the only alternative, is electric, right? But there is a little bit more to it. So just so we don't waste time, it really depends, and I will explain why I say it depends, right? The electric car, the understanding we have generally out there is that electric cars are generally more efficient and emits less carbon than the gasoline powered cars. Over the long term, yes, but in the short term, no, because the amount of emissions that happen at the point of manufacturing the car, the electric car, is more than it is with the gasoline car. In fact, it is almost 40% more at the point of manufacturing the car. In fact, the statistic says that an electric car would have to have run for 50,000 miles, approximately 48,000 plus, close to 50,000 miles, to equal the carbon emission of a gasoline car. So what usually we've been paying attention to is the tailpipe emission of gasoline cars, right? And there's been a lot of, we tend to forget what happens in the whole value chain of an electric car, right? And beyond the manufacturing, even the electricity that you get to use, which is a very silent point that we tend to forget, is that the electricity that comes into your house, which you charge your electric cars, right, goes through a process, isn't it? That come from power stations and stuff like that, which are actually, at the moment, 80% of them are manned or are, kind of functioned by fossil fuel, right? So even the electricity that we're talking about also has some form of emission therein as well. So the question really would be, what kind of electricity are you using? So that's another question. So that's why I said it depends, because if you're using wind generated electricity, the emission on an electric car's value chain or life cycle reduces drastically than if you're using the mix of other coal powered power stations and stuff like that. So you can see that the real question that we probably need to be asking is, should we be focusing on real zero, right? Because when you talk about net zero, and just to explain what this whole net zero thing means, is that, just like you talk about in business, you talk about net profit, right?